WTF, welcome to Funkatopia. WTF, what is going on? I hope everybody is doing phenomenally well. I am your host, Mr. Christopher. Welcome to Funkatopia Live. Actually, this is the pre-show, as you guys all well know. Kind of just let you guys file in and get comfortable, get your coffee, get your drink, whatever you got to get. And we're going to have an amazing show tonight. Obviously, as you know, we have the incredible and amazing Matt Blistan, aka Atlanta Bliss, in the house. He's already ready in the green room, but we will bring him in the 8 o'clock hour. But this is a pre-show, so we let you guys kind of get situated so we can say hello. Hello, Susan from Iowa. I see you. And April from Tampa has been here for a minute, been here a while. Kimberly, what is going on from West Fargo, North Dakota, says, love the Madhouse albums. Great to hear some background on how horns were constructed, unique music. Yeah, he was on 6.5. We'll talk a little bit about that too. What's going on, Purple Nerd? What's up? Always in the house. Always good to see you guys. Hey, what's going on, Krista? Hey, Carrie, how are you? Yes, Lisa, Purple people and funky folks, we are all here. Yes, love right back at you, Samantha. I appreciate it. Arlene, what's going on? Kiaria from the Twin Cities. Adriana, what's going on? Carrie from Carlsbad. Lisa, I didn't know you were in Pittsburgh. All right. You know, let me just go ahead and just say, as obviously a Falcons fan, I was also born and raised up in that area, up in Jersey, and we love the Steelers up there. But now that I'm here in Atlanta and you guys kind of handed us our first loss on our first game of the season, it is what it is. I'm glad Russell Wilson is working out for you guys, though. Russell Wilson seems to be doing pretty well. So hey, we're just going to keep on watching. But I think next time we play, we're gonna go at it. We're gonna go at it. Clark checking in from Richmond. What's up, Eddie? Yo. What's going on, Janice? Hello, everyone. And Sue from California. Yeah, tonight again we have Atlanta Bliss in the house. Got lots of questions. I've kind of been. There's some questions that I really wanted to ask him. Thank you guys so much for kind of filing in a lot of your questions early when I initially announced the show. You said, ask him about this, ask him about that. And I was actually surprised, but you guys were right that he did not, he was never asked specific questions about, some of the after shows and stuff that happened over in Europe. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. So I had to re-listen to the Small Club show in Holland to kind of absorb that show again. Since I knew that I was having him on, I replayed that show, and we're going to talk about those shows because there were so many really, really cool shows over in Europe that he really didn't discuss a whole bunch about, and we're gonna dig deep. So make sure that you guys get your questions, get them ready, and once he's on and whatever, and you can post them in the chat room. I will star them. Just remember, as always. I will star them and I will ask them when it's appropriate, because I have a timeline that I'm trying to hit. And if the question fits into that timeline, I'll scoot it in there. I know people have been kind of throwing in a lot of questions from a variety of different things covering his career. We're going to talk about a lot of this stuff. No, I did not see that. Kiaria said, did you see that Small Club is on the official Prince YouTube channel? I did not see that. Wow, that's cool. Yeah, no, I was listening to a bootleg version that was also on YouTube, not on the official channel. Wow, that's nice. It's good to know. Yeah, because that means that Small Club's out there now, and Utrecht is on there, or Utrecht. Is it pronounced? It's probably Utrecht. It's probably how it's pronounced. But yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about a lot of things, and we're about to hit the 8 o'clock hour, which means we'll move out of the pre-show phase and go right into the regular show. So, man, I can't wait. So normally what I try to do is I try to take out this pre-show section out of the video and just kind of squash it together. But yeah, Another Pittsburgh game. Okay. All right. I feel so. I'm actually, that makes me glad that I wore my Atlanta Falcons shirt today. I mean, you guys aren't, in the same division, but that's okay. We're number one in our division. So only because everybody else in our division sucks. Actually, that's not true. Tampa Bay was playing pretty much just like us, and they got handed a pretty big loss last night, just like us last week. So, but hey, it's all good. It's all good. All right, you guys ready? I'm ready. We should probably do this. All right, here we go. Give me a second. All right, tonight, I hope you guys are ready for a great show. We're going to have a fantastic guest that I have not had on the show before, so it's really good to have him on board. It is the one, the only, Matt Blistan, aka Atlanta Bliss. He is Prince's first trumpet player ever to play with him live, and you have probably heard his work on a variety of Prince albums, including Parade and Batman and Sign of the Times and Love Sexy and Graffiti Bridge and so much more. And so, and on top of that, he's got a brand new book out right now called Mind, Body, Trumpet. We're going to talk a little bit about that too, and how you can get your copy at atlantabliss.com. But let me welcome the one, the only, Mr. Atlanta Bliss. How are you, sir?
Mr. Christopher. Hey, thank you for that intro. That was very nice of you.
Oh, absolutely. Of course.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for all the good mentions. That's very cool. After 40 years, I still get people thinking, oh, we did some good stuff back then.
Yeah, I can imagine, some people get used to it. Some people expect it. And then other people like yourself and Michael Bland, after I kind of like do introductions, it's just like, wow, I really appreciate it. It's just like, well, of course. Why wouldn't I?
Well, it's really funny because every day almost I get new friends wanting to be on my Facebook friends. They're 40 years later, and they're still Prince fans are just incredible.
Oh yeah,
they keep growing. It's really exciting to see it.
Yeah,
Prince is still with us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We are absolutely a hardcore group of folks, and I think probably the only word I can think to kind of describe Prince fans is insatiable. That's probably the best word I can think, because we like to absorb pretty much anything and everything. Obviously, as you can see, I don't know if you can notice behind me, but this is like all Prince books. Probably this vinyl collection is probably all Prince, probably to right about there, pretty much. And on top of that, I got box sets that it's just, you can't. And then a huge portion, those first two rows of CDs over here are all Prince and NPG. It's just, we're collectivist, and we just can't, there's just not enough information. It's just, we can't get it. That's the reason why there's also that fine balance with, let's go ahead and start with a loaded question. Were you interviewed for the Netflix documentary?
No.
Oh, there you go. What's your feelings on it? Or do you have any feelings on it?
I haven't seen it, or I'm not that familiar with it. No.
Well, yeah, so it's pretty, according to a lot of people, they kind of feel like it's a hit piece, and then other people, just because it has like a lot of, not glowing things in it. But, he's a musician, a rock star. He's never really had a typical, normal life. And that's going to happen with people who have reached superstardom and don't really, it's just this is the reality. I don't think that any of the fans are going to think any less of him because they kind of hear, stories that are a little bit darker than they're used to, than the pomp and circumstance. So but the estate makes the decisions in that regard. So
I have heard that's it, but I haven't seen the whole thing. I'm really, I would stay that close. You Prince fans are the diehards, like you said, and I haven't been much on top of all of that. I know my daughter has been more on top of it. She informs me what's going on more than I even see it. But and that's the way the Prince is. There is a side that he is can get pretty rough on some people, and that's the way he's certainly able to do that, or can do that, or should do that, because that's how he keeps his music the best in the world. And and that's the way we you can't slack off, and he never did. And all the concerts and everything that I saw him, he's just amazing. There's one time that he was very sick, and we were all wondering, well, how's he going to do it? And he was under the stage, and he was just concentrating. I don't know. He guess he had some things for some lozenges for his voice and things, and he came out and he just where it came from. No one did.
We got some people that are actually reporting some of your audio is a little bit choppy, and yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, a couple people say that your audio is breaking up and audio sounds funny. I don't know if you have an alternate option. Are you using a Bluetooth option or are you going direct?
I'm on Bluetooth right now.
I think it may be the Bluetooth connection, possibly, because a lot of times Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity can be problematic.
Oh, well, I do a wire here too. I can use the wired microphone.
If we can do a wired mic option, we want to make sure that everybody can hear you, because I'm going to ask you some stories and we're going to want to hear every word and syllable again, because we're completists and insatiable, obviously. So while he's doing that, again, for those of you just joining us, we are being joined by the one and only Matt Blistan, aka Atlanta Bliss. And he is joining us. He was Prince's trumpet player for many years and covered many, many albums. If you missed the intro, obviously he's been on tons of them. Sign of the Times and Love Sexy and Graffiti Bridge, and just like the laundry list kind of just goes on. And looking so forward to kind of hearing some stories. And yes, I did get a collection of your questions. If you do have some questions that you would like to ask him, please make sure that you put them in the chat room so I can star them and I can ask him those questions when he gets situated and we get to that portion. Because if you ask a specific question about Parade and I have Parade in the timeline of questions that I'm going to be asking him, I'm going to slip that question into the Parade section. So if I don't immediately answer or read out your question, it's simply because of the fact that, it's probably in the timeline somewhere, or I already have that question written down. So don't feel offended if I don't read out your question right immediately as soon as you post it in the chat room. And he is making some adjustments to his audio, and he's going to unmute himself, or maybe I need to unmute him. Let's see. Once he gets his mic connected, we will move on. Man, this is going to be great. So, matter of fact, if there are some specific questions that you would like to ask, go ahead and post them. If you texted me directly via Facebook chat or any of that, I've already inserted those, and of course, I put your name next to them so that I can remember to give you a shout out for asking the question. I may have already been prepared to ask that question, but I'll give you credit for it because it is what it is. So we're kind of just waiting for him to get his microphone live here, and then we will move on. Kiaria says, "I'm excited for Adore. It's one of your favorite songs. The horns and strings really make the song." Yeah, it does. It's such a fantastic track. So we will definitely talk about that song too. I'm going to keep on playing, giving a shout out to love. Jude says, "Hi, Matt." Ocean, what's going on? Susie said it's good now, but
good now?
Yeah, there you are.
Hello?
How are?
Okay, we are in.
Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Okay. Yeah, I think this much works better.
Oh, perfect. Great. All right. So yeah, so let's retell the story about because I kind of heard a little bit bits and pieces. You were talking about how Prince was feeling under the weather during a performance and he was kind of under the stage. Can you retell that story?
Yeah, it was all during the day. He caught a cold, and it was the band were wondering how he's going to do this. Of course, he can still play and everything, but his voice was really raspy, and wondering how he's going to get through it. But he had I guess he knows he's a singer, and he knew what the lozenges and the heat and whatever he had, and even right before the concert out on the stage, he had some lozenges and things, and came out, and you could tell he was starting to sing stronger as they went on. And just as the night came on, the end of the night, he was just, I think he was just blazing. His voice is just incredible, and don't know how he did it, but that's the kind of performance that he expected everyone to do. There
Yeah,
was one time when I hurt my back, and um, I had to go on stage, obviously too. I could barely stand up. I think we are out in Holland, and you got a show goes on, and he was great for that, and we did it.
yeah, knowing that how much under the weather that he was in Atlanta and everything that he was kind of going through pain wise, I don't think vocal wise that there was anything necessarily going on, but just in the amount of pain that he apparently was in during that performance in Atlanta, his final two shows, knowing the kind of output that he was able to, and when you're doing a show like that, specifically Prince piano and a microphone where it's just you and it's just a piano, it's just unbelievable to me that because all the focus is on you, that there's nobody else to watch. It's just you. So it's you are pretty much seen warts and all. And he did not put a lot of effects on his voice. Maybe a little bit of reverb, or if he wanted to kind of add like a little bit of an effect on the end of a note or whatever to kind of carry it over. But it was very, very clean audio, and I'm really looking forward to an official release from the estate of some of those shows, because there was so much going on, and just to kind of hear him, just in, I mean, obviously the 80s is what many people consider his prime, but the way that he sounded and as strong as he sounded during that Prince piano and a microphone tour is just unreal. It's just unreal. And you said that, he expected, a lot of that. Can you think of any, one of the things I noticed, we're going to talk a little bit about some of these after shows. One after show, I don't want to talk about it just necessarily right now, but one of the after shows was the small club show, which I just heard is on the official Prince YouTube channel now. Was that you were the horn section for that small club show, and I guess Eric was sick and wasn't feeling well, or just whatever it was, and he didn't show for that particular performance, and it was just you were the horn section. That's it. What is that like, or do you feel like excess pressure in those types of moments, or what do you do?
Well, yeah, Eric wasn't feeling well, so I said, well, I'm going to go out and play. And he said, well, go for it. And of course, it doesn't sound the same because the harmonies aren't there. We do play on a lot of unison lines together, but it didn't sound the same. But I played all the same lines, and sometimes when Eric would play a solo, Prince would call for me to play a solo, and that's the way the after shows went. It was anything goes, and those are the ones that, with the main stage show. Of course, we have sound checks. All of you know this. We have sound checks, and anything can be changed within the show. But most of the show it's 75% the same. But during the after shows, anything goes. Any songs he can call at any time, in any key. Um, he can call for you to play a solo at any time on anything that you've never played a solo on before. And of course, you have to watch him the whole time. Of course, we do on the stage show too, because of all his hand signals that he has, and the hits and everything. And um, so it's really Prince's show. We're the background backup musicians, but we have to be on top of it, watching him all the time. You can't be watching some blonde out in the front row. You got to be watching him.
Yeah, gosh, that's good.
And yeah, and that show in particular, yeah, it was challenging, uh, but I guess it came out pretty well, just with one horn. Of course, I like the sound of two horns better, but Eric and I have played together for so long, and he was, well, you gotta go. Okay, shit. Okay, go ahead and go.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be. I mean, that's just got to be a lot. I mean, I tell you. I want to ask you regarding this photo here. How difficult was it to manage your hair?
Well, maybe you should find the shot of me with the parade hair that I had, which is about what I have right now. And I had a little in the back. There was a French braid they made it's about 2 inches long. And actually, Prince said, he said, "Okay, you got the gauge, but you got to grow your hair long." And I said, "Well, shoot, I can do that," because that's the way it was when I was playing with in Pittsburgh with Eric. That's the way my hair was. And but then, as time went on, it finally got to that length, and that had the one sideburn. Was the one Elvis sideburn on one side, and yeah, it was. We had hair and makeup, but they it was pretty much like that. Yeah, rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an amazing picture. It's such. I mean, that's just got 80s written all over it. It's just. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a fun picture. A lot of people get a kick out. I show that to people now. They say, "Wait, that's not you."
It's kind of hard to tell that it is you because you're right. In most of the other photos that you see, with you and Prince are in the background, you just have a short, very, standard haircut.
Yeah, that's the way it was with Parade. In fact, Little Toad, when I said, like I said, when I came with Parade, my hair was very short, and I think I was I think it was on the Parade tour. Towards the end of the Parade tour, Prince and I were talking one time, and he said, Prince got his haircut short, and he said, I got this short haircut from you.
Nice.
I'm a hairstylist.
Oh, look at you setting trends. All right. Setting trends, trendsetter.
Wow. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And then later on, he grew his hair long. What can I say?
All right. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't follow. I know a lot of people love his hair in Graffiti Bridge, that kind of straight. That is like my least favorite. I know the women just like, oh my God, just dreamy. That is like my least favorite hairstyle that he had. I don't know why. It just, not that it's supposed to do anything for me. It's just like, it was just something about that look. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the women love it, and he knows what people want, and I don't. So that's the reason why he's Prince, and I'm just a podcaster.
Well, and that's not just the stylish he changes up. Obviously, changes his music up all the time. He never stands still with that either.
And I saw that too, and that's interesting. This is not on my list of questions, but it's interesting that you bring that up because this conversation has come up a few times over the past few podcasts, and Michael Bland and I talked about this in the last show, that with the exception of his first two albums, every album was just kind of like, I mean, there was continuity with the songs from front to back, but every song was vastly different from everything. It's just, I mean, one song was not comparable to another. It was just like, this is the song that I'm creating. I like the way it sounds. And that was it. It was just, everything was just like a hodgepodge. I mean, because they call him a funk artist, but if you listen to his albums, there's like a bunch of stuff on there that's not necessarily funk. It's just kind of all over it's kind of all over the map. Is that what drew you? And we're going to talk about how you came on board with Prince when Eric had called you to kind of come in for, a rehearsal or whatever. But what drew you to him musically? Was it that variety of different styles and kind of being able to be all over the place artistically?
Um, well, when I much the same as Eric, we really didn't know a lot about Prince's music when we did this. So we were, I think, pretty, I guess you could use the word astounded that when we went and played with him, we saw the musicianship that was just incredible with him. That it just wasn't the funk, the R&B. It was the classical style, and I think he did like Eric and I are we played all the clubs in Pittsburgh together in the band called On the Corner and one called The Taking Names in Pittsburgh. And we played things like Earth, Wind and Fire and Kool and the Gang and AWB and um, all the Tower Power, all those bands. But we did that because that was the dance music. We loved it, but we were really jazz cats. And I think Prince sensed that, and so we brought sort of that color to him also. And then I think, well, I don't know if Eric really introduced him or Prince really knew about Miles Davis, and but he got into Miles, and Miles and him were friends. And of course, there's lots of stories with that, with all that.
We'll get
But
there. Sure.
yeah, we'll get there. And but that's his music. The other thing that he totally astounded with him and very much appreciated with him was is what you're saying is he never repeated himself. He never wrote anything comparable. Never even tried to do a Purple Rain. He wrote Purple Rain. There's many one-hit wonders. Well, I had Purple Rain. Well, I'm going to do another song like Purple Rain because my fans will love it. Well, he doesn't think like that. He thinks like a jazz cat. As jazz cats think, I'm never going to play that solo again like that. I'm never going to play that again. I'm going to play that one time, and I want to see what else is out there in the musical world. What else is in my musical mind? I want to get expanded. I just don't want to play the same thing over and over. And that's the problem. One of the problems he had with some of his early tours is he had to keep playing the hits, and he wanted to go expound on things. He wanted to go places where he hadn't been before. And so it's always exciting to play with him, especially when you're in a studio because he didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, I'm looking, speaking of you being a jazz cat, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but we can bring it up right now since we have a guest that's in the chat room here. Clark Irwin said he did the sound for Taking Names.
He did.
At 365, 18 months. Oh, my word.
Yeah. Clark was our sound man. And not only that, he's a great musician, too. And he was with us even we're still friends after all these years and still stay in contact. But yeah, he's a great guy.
Well,
Good ears, great mixer. The sound, because we recorded everything that we did. Well, he recorded everything we did. So we still have some of those tapes, and I'm trying to talk to Eric to release some of those. Maybe put them through my website or his website or whatever, and people want to hear that stuff. Music is really good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about how you got in with Prince. And I guess this is a phone call from Eric that kind of started this to kind of tell the story about how this tryout actually ended up becoming much more than that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I was living with my wife in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, After I left Pittsburgh. I had a band in Pittsburgh called the Parker Brothers, and just had enough of Pittsburgh. Wanted to go somewhere else, head south. And Eric was playing with Billy Price and the Rhythm Kings for that time while I had the Parker Brothers. After we had played together for all those years, so moved to Atlanta. Eric moved down and lived with us for it was probably maybe 6 months or 8 months or something like that. And his brother Alan Leeds, which I'm sure his name rings many bells of
Yes.
the people who are listening here. Um, Alan said, "Hey, Prince wanted to try him out, as far as a demo, as far as a saxophone player, adding a saxophone, maybe to the Revolution." So we did a demo at my house, which certainly featured Eric. That's what it was all about. But I was on that also, and Eric ended up being hired for, as you know, the end of the Purple Rain tour, and came out and soloed things during the whenever Prince would call him out. So towards the end of that, Prince talked to Eric and said, "Hey,
you know, a trumpet player. I'd like to add two horns to the revolution. So Eric said, well, yeah, I do know a trumpet player. So I hadn't been playing probably in 6 months or so. And Eric called me up and said, hey, you're booked on a flight tomorrow for an audition with Prince. And, you know, he talked about Prince and how great it was doing and how much fun they were having and the musicianship and everything. And I said, well, talking to my wife, and I said, well, should I do this or not? She said, that is something that you always wanted to do. That's what Eric and I, we wanted to have a record contract with our band, but this was certainly something we hadn't expected that we would play with an artist such as Prince already. So she said, yes, go ahead and do it. So I went downstairs and pulled out my trumpet, oiled the valves, and said a lot of prayers, and said, okay, if it's meant to be, I'm in. So I started practicing, getting it together, and Eric called back in a little bit and he said, hey, sorry, there's no audition with Prince anymore. He said, actually, it's a recording session. So I said, okay, well, let's see what happens with that. And so I packed everything, went up there, and the first day was Mountains. We recorded Mountains. You know, it was a song by Wendy and Lisa, and we started out. Prince sang us the horn parts. Up, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da. And so, okay, well that's cool. We can do that. And you know, we put a bridge part in there, and then he said, well, okay, everybody take a break here, and I want the horns to sit with Wendy and Lisa and write a horn bridge in there. And there's a real pretty when Wendy and Lisa just did. They sang us the parts they wanted, and it was just a real pretty addition to the song, which I'm sure everyone has known and probably heard 1,000 times. And it worked out really well. And so we finished the recording, and I think we came back the next day, and Prince came in. This is there you go. Prince came. We were all set up, ready to rehearse again, and Prince came in playing air trumpet, dancing in playing air trumpet, and says, "Atlanta Bliss plays like this." I said, "Well, Atlanta Bliss, don't get there." Oh, well, I guess. Well, there was another Matt in the band, so you can't have two Matts in the band. He calls Matt for a solo. You don't, we don't want any mix up. So he named me Atlanta Bliss, and that was cool. I love Atlanta. I love. In fact, I was down there a couple of weeks ago, and just always love Atlanta. So and of course Bliss is from my Blistan. So yeah, then he said at that time, yeah, you can see the little hair back there, little ponytail that I had.
Yeah.
And he said, "You got the gig. The gig." That's when he said that. You got the gig, but you got to grow your hair long. So I can do that. It's been much longer before.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He's such a marketing genius too. I mean, I think of everybody that he's named. He's just like, well, I'm going to change it up. You're now Tommy Barbarella. You're now Brown Mark. You're now. It's like he's just. It's just. I mean, he's just a marketing genius. He always seemed. I mean, he just kind of knew, what sounded a specific way, and Atlanta Bliss is a. It's a great.
Always worked. Yeah, Pittsburgh Bliss. I don't know if that sounds great.
No, I can't. Yeah, I imagine feel some sort of way. So you talk about the first song. That was the first song you ever recorded was Mountains, but you also played on Girls and Boys, also, correct?
Yeah. I think we did. I did the 12-inch on that. I think we went back in. That was already recorded when I started, also. But I think we went into the studio and did the 12-inch on that. Added the horn parts too that weren't there, obviously. Eric had his horn parts, but not our collective parts. Now you got all the photos.
Oh yeah, no, I've got photos for days. Yeah, I try to make sure that there's a visual component. My apologies to the folks who are going to be listening to this after the fact on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Music. You guys need to come and check out the video version, obviously, as well. And of course, if you are listening and watching on any of those, please make sure that you subscribe, like, follow, all those fine things as well, because we'd like to let you know when we're having great shows like this, like our special guest with us tonight, Atlanta Bliss, who, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, has got a brand new book called Mind, Body, Trumpet, Practice Trumpet Without Your Trumpet, which is pretty friggin' cool. So we're going to talk about that as well, but there's still much more to cover here. So you also won, speaking of parade, you also have a Grammy to show for this as well, correct? This is for best R&B performance by a duo or group with vocals for the song Kiss.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Of course, we went on stage with them. We got those later, but yeah, that was very cool getting one of those. In fact, I work with that's with Naris, and they had a thing back in the, let's see, this is in the 90s, I suppose. Yeah, it was in the early 90s. It's called Grammys in the Schools, and I went into a lot of inner city Atlanta schools and talk to kids about the music industry and playing an instrument, being the best you can at whatever you're doing. And it was really, really nice.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Do you actually teach any music classes, or have you ever taught trumpet before as an instructor?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've been teaching trumpet forever. In fact, I taught electronic keyboards too, beginner keyboards. I'm not a keyboardist per se, but yeah, I taught at Georgia State University, as a matter of fact, right downtown, and and of course I taught at some. Never really a full-time teacher in a high school, but did a lot of private teaching and instruction outside of school.
Wow. That's really, you gotta let me know when you're in Atlanta. We need to connect and like
Yeah,
grab
that'd be fun.
a burger at Varsity or something. Yeah, because I see in your setup there you have all kinds of really, really cool. One of the things that is in this book that unfortunately I didn't get the book until today. So I hadn't have an opportunity to capture some of these photos, but Matt has got an unbelievable wall in a picture of his award wall, very similar to kind of mine, but it is a very, very cool wall of albums and whatnot. And so everything is covered it's in this book, not only his background, but also all the instructional stuff as well. So yeah, if you want to pick up a copy of Mind, Body, Trumpet, it's atlantabliss.com. Again, I keep touching on it because I want to make sure that we cover it because it's a brand new book and it's out now. And it's really, really cool that you spent the time to do this. A lot of people have been asking. Yeah, I see Revolution and Jude, I see your questions about his response regarding the documentary. We'll come back around to that. But obviously him, like all of us here, I don't think there's anybody here that has had the opportunity to actually see that documentary. You can't really say one way or other because none of us have seen it. But we'll come back around to that as far as his opinion on that. But I do know that a lot of people have asked about this project here, Madhouse. You are not on the Madhouse album, but you're on Madhouse 6.5, which is the B side to Madhouse 6, right?
Right.
Yeah. So tell me about Madhouse as a project. Were you able to actually see any of these recordings, or did you kind of come in after this had already been done and you kind of created this extra song? Or tell me about your background and your knowledge of what was Madhouse. And this is obviously the first album.
Yeah, I don't think as looking back on it now, and everyone knows the stories that I think those recording sessions were just something. They started sort of off the cuff with Prince. He just said, "Hey, I have some tracks here that I want to play," and Eric went in and play on them, and he went in and played, and it ended up being Prince and him basically on the first ones, and then Eric it turned into Eric got his his shot at it and did his started. I think some of the tracks started out with Prince, and Prince said, "Well, take it and do what you want with it, and develop it." And Eric did that, and he's a musical genius. Eric's a musical genius. He just can take something and take it to a different level that people haven't even thought about. And he takes his saxophones and the harmonies that he has and everything. It's the Duke Ellington harmonies and some of the out courses he has with with the horns and horn parts throughout the songs and everything were just amazing. And that went in. Prince heard some of that stuff and said, "Okay, well, this sounds good. Go ahead, you got your own album." And that really incited Eric to really develop his sound, and his future albums were amazing.
Yeah.
But
Because I was going to say, a lot of people don't know this, that Madhouse had two albums, 8 and 16, and what was going to be Madhouse 24 actually became Eric Leeds' Times Square album. And of course, he moved away from the number variations on the songs. So there was that. For those who may not be familiar with 6.5, maybe you never got a B-side. I wonder, I'm trying to see if I can possibly share this and see if we can get a little bit of taste of what 6.5 sounded like. If you guys forgot, yeah, let's check it out. Hold on a second. Such a cool. I mean, man, that is a lot. That is really staccato. It's just punchy. What? How long did that song take to land? Because that sounds like there's a lot going on.
Well, that's as usual. Eric comes into the charts and says, "Okay, let's go," and you finish it right there. Same with Prince. There's no practicing. It's get it done.
Well, I don't read music. What does a song like that look like when they lay it in front of you? You're like, oh,
Now, if you have to say every time you work with Eric, that's what you say when you lay it in front, because that's his handwriting. His handwriting's the worst. That was before they came out with the computer generated music that you could type it in your computer and then print it out and hand it to someone. Well, Erica's, of course, I do too. It's all handwritten, and you sort of after many years with him, I sort of got to be able to read it, but still something like that. That takes some concentration, because that's some pretty I hate to use the word off the wall stuff, but it's stuff that normally you would think maybe the melodies would be a little more similar to or what we're paying the horn parts would be a little more similar to what uh, the beginning of the track was. But Eric takes the horn parts that we have there in 6.5 to another level, and that's where you can really tell listening to that where he's taking his music from there. It just goes out there, and it's just super interesting, and just orchestral wise, harmonization wise, the instruments he uses, they're very cool. Good, incredible musicians.
Well, and was there any specific reason why they called it 6.5? Because it doesn't really see it. It doesn't sound anything like 6. I mean, is it just because
that's on the backside? Yeah,
that's the yeah. I would think it's kind of like I don't know, like Son of Slide or something like that. It's like it has like this variant that is of the original song, so it's kind of Clark says Eric calls his handwritten charts chicken scratch. Yeah,
yeah, he even does. Yeah,
yeah. If I like, it's like when I write. If I write Well, the problem was in high school is that I took drafting in high school for 2 years, and it ruined me because I cannot write. It really takes. I have to concentrate to write lowercase letters because in drafting it's all uppercase, and so when I write stuff out, it's all in uppercase. It doesn't look like I'm yelling, or maybe it does to other people. I don't know, but I don't type that way. But when I write, it's normally all in uppercase letters, and I can only imagine if I slow down, I could probably do it a little bit better. But if you're in a rush, and especially in a song like that, I can only imagine your mind's going a million miles a minute just trying to figure out exactly, how these pieces are going to fit together, and you got to get it down on paper before you lose your thought process. That's just
exactly.
Oh
And I don't know if I have seen some score paper that would have multiple instruments on one page, and so he would have trumpet and sax on, but a lot of times he didn't do that. He would have his saxophone chart, his music, and then he would have a trumpet, and I think he'd write both at the same time. He didn't write score first and write from that each individual part. So
that's that just seems really arduous. But again, with a song like that, it's got to have, with so many notes within each bar, it's just, and that timing, that
it was challenging. It's the word is challenging, I think.
Oh my
It
God.
always was, challenging to play with Eric. But you talk about challenging. Challenging is playing with Prince.
Yeah, well, and I was just going to ask you that. What is the most challenging song that you played with Prince, that, in your opinion?
You mean recording in the studio or live?
Either one. Let's do one of each. In the studio, which was the most arduous one for you to?
Well, I'll tell you what. What was, the song "La La La He He He" from the Black Album?
Yeah, it wasn't on the Black Album, but it was the B side.
It originally was.
That him and Sheila Easton wrote. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of horn parts on that, and then towards the end of that, there was a vamp that went on for a long time, and I was just having. I can still remember playing the horn part. I can't remember exactly what it is right now, but I know there was a high F sharp that I had to hit like every time. And that was challenging. And I said, okay, enough. And he kept going on, and oh my, it was challenging to keep up, but I guess it turned out all right.
Oh, but that 12-inch, yeah, I can't even listen to the short version of that song. It's a travesty. Yeah. There's even a short version of La 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 He He He. The 12-inch version is the only version.
There's a lot going on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's such a fantastic. There's so many different changes and so many variants and funk elements. Mm-hmm. It's a great song.
That's what that I tell a lot of people, that Prince is not, a normal song is an AAB song. You do the head 2 times on the verse, and then you do a bridge, and then go back to the verse. Well, Prince is not like that. He's a through composer. That means he would start at the beginning and do an A, and then he'd do a B, and then he'd do a C, and then a D, then back to an A, and then a J, and then excuse me, lots of different colors and different types of maybe relating to the original thought of the song, but just developed all the way through. It just wasn't hit it and quit it, and he really developed the song as he went along. When you started with it, we would have a scratch track, and a lot of times we wouldn't get back to the same horn part that we played in the beginning, which is unusual because in an AAB scenario, you repeat the horn parts, but sometimes we wouldn't repeat the horn parts. We just have new parts all the way through the whole song.
Wow,
he's just so creative. He doesn't want you don't want to play the same thing twice. That's the jazz in him that maybe he didn't know, but that's what I call him anyways.
Yeah. The other thing, so what, in the second part of that question that we had started, what was the most difficult horn part to play live? For those listening to audio, he's really thinking about this.
Yeah, I'm really
like if you see it on the set list, you're like, God dang, I'm gonna play this.
Well, the whole thing was a challenge all the way through. I'm Well, when it comes into playing rock hard in a funky place, that's always a challenge. And that
Yeah.
was when Eric brought that in the studio, and we did that the first time. I had to break from our deference, and can I get a shot at this tomorrow? I'll go home and let me go back up in the hotel for the night and play with this thing because
Oh
it
my.
was Eric, and he can do that stuff inside and out. Of course, he wrote it too, so he had an idea of what he was handing me. But yeah, I had to go back and practice that one.
Yeah, Joshua says that the horn charts from Rock Hard in a Funky Place is borrowed from the jazz scene that Matt and Eric did way before P. Is that true?
No, this is something new. This was something new that Eric came up with. This was in well, it was in we were in Sunset Sound and did it the first time there, and that's where we recorded it. And that ended up being, of course, with Beautiful Night. That's the kick ass thing. When Prince says kick ass, that means rock hard and funky place. And sometimes he'd speed it up, and we'd have to play it faster. But one thing that I did, and with trumpet playing, you have to warm up, and you have to know when you're warmed up, when you're ready to go. Well, I don't know if you know the song Donna Lee by Charlie Parker. It's 1,000 notes. Just 1,000 notes. When I know I can play that, when I play that, okay, let's go do the show.
Yeah, I'm literally thinking of the horn parts in Rock Hard and Funky Place, just as you were like da 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 da. Yeah, da da da. It's oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's
and it like makes no sense at all, but when you sort of have to make sense of it so you can remember it, it's a lot of when I first saw it, it's a lot of different snippets put together in my mind, not in Eric's mind, of course. But after you sing it and you know it well enough, then it sort of flows like a Donna Lee or something like that.
yeah, that's yeah, it's
Challenging, challenging, but that's what challenge to play with Eric and Prince. So between the two of them, I had
yeah.
fun.
I mean, but that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's what they always say. If you want to improve as a musician, you have to put yourself in those challenging situations. If you're comfortable in a situation, you're like, oh yeah, I got this. That's probably not where you need to be because you're
Yeah,
not going to grow and become
not gonna
better.
grow. Yeah, exactly. That's what Prince does to all his musicians, and that's what I said at the beginning of this. It's that you're watching them the whole time and waiting for his next thought of what to do. So eh, you can have the respect for this guy, and he knows what to do and what the audience is looking for and uh, what they want, what they don't want, and he does change things up for that. It's pretty incredible guy, very incredible guy.
Yeah, I can only imagine. We're going to talk about the Black Album here in just a minute, but first, before we get there, we obviously got to talk about the Beast, Sign of the Times. This is really kind of like a loaded. This is like a loaded album right here because obviously it's a double album. And before we even go into this album, you were there obviously for Parade and um, Love Sexy, obviously, and I mean, well, actually, before we even get to that, what was the vibe in your opinion, or did you even notice or whatever when Prince let the revolution go and kind of moved into this phase? What was your thought, or did you even have any thoughts regarding it? You were just like, this is just Prince kind of moving on, and I mean,
Yeah,
what feelings?
yeah. I think that um, I did, and of course Eric realized, and I know Alan certainly realized too, that as with his music and his personality, he wants to move on. and try new things and try different things. And I think maybe he thought that he uh, did as much as he could with the original Revolution and wanted to move on from there. And of course, he moved on from where Son of the Times and Love Sexy Band were too.
Mhm.
So it's nothing that he wants to stay stagnant about. And sort of expected, after we played Love Sexy and ended the tour in Japan, and Prince at that time, let the band go too after that. And he told Eric and I to stick around because he was going to work with some more artists. And I guess he wanted to have horns, have us as horns be available too. So he said, sure, we'd love to do that. And, we stuck around for quite a while. And that's when we did the Batman and we did Shaka and um, there were other artists. We did Clinton and a lot of those things and had a lot of fun. And then it's sort of, I don't know if he focused on something after that. And I didn't hear from him for a long time. And that's when I said, well, I'm going to move back to Atlanta. And, if he still wants me to do anything, um, I'll fly up and stick around or whatever he wants me to do. And so I flew up and that's what did Graffiti Bridge. And then after that, I think he moved on to, his new bands from there. And,
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that people were actually surprised that he moved on from the Revolution, considering everything that he had done in the background, like Madhouse, like the work with the time, like the work with the family, like with all that stuff. He had so much going on in his head that it was like a constant motion.
Mm.
And it was like everything was just it was kind of unusual, very, very surprising that people were kind of caught off guard by it. But it's like he's like a chameleon. It just keeps on moving like that. So
yeah,
it's kind of
that's the jazz in him.
yeah. I mean, absolutely.
He stays the same.
So we had a lot of questions about A Beautiful Night. It's going to be a beautiful night. That's kind of got the live feel, but I don't know if I've ever talked about this or not. If I ever knew the answer to this, was that I know there was a specific concert recording that this came from, but how long did that take to actually record that show? I mean, record that specific song. How difficult was that song to put together?
That, like many of our performances, that was in Paris. We did that, and I think Matt Fink came up with basically the groove and everything. Eric came up with the horn parts, and Prince came up with everything else after that, how to put it all together. And so it started out. I don't know if it was quite. It might have been an early sound check, and we just started working on it. And Prince said, "Well, I want to play this tonight." See, okay, we can play it tonight. We didn't know it was going to be a recording, but we played it that night, and it lasted quite a while, and pretty cool song.
Yeah, I mean,
Really opened up a lot.
So realistically, it was pretty quick.
Oh yeah, it was the same day.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, that also includes the Trans Mississippi Rap from Sheila E, but not in the live version. There's a lot of people that don't know that. There's a lot of people that know this. The reason why it's called that was because Sheila did the rap over the phone with Prince, and that's the reason why it sounds like that on the audio, is because it's audio coming from her doing it over the phone.
I didn't look. Oh.
Yeah. So, and that's the reason why it got that name. And she literally still does that Trans Mississippi Rap to this day, on the which is fantastic. I think I mean, I love when she does it slow. Matter of fact, I'm going to talk about Small Club in a minute, but what's cool about Small Club is that there is a variant that is done. I can't remember the song in the small club show where she actually slows it down so that you can hear everything that she's saying. And it's just a really cool, little riff that that happens. It's pretty awesome. But Ronnie Badra, who was a Funkatopian, had questions about Moquake. Obviously, it is the version that is the long version of Housequake, and it really focuses a lot on you. Do you have any stories about the recording process of Moquake and how long that took and any session?
Yeah, that was certainly one of those memorable things that I think we had some time off. It was around Thanksgiving or something like that. And Eric went, I think he went down to Florida with his parents, and I went back to Pittsburgh with my parents. And well, we're going to have Thanksgiving or I don't know if it was Christmas or something like that. And just within a day, Eric called me up and said, "Hey, we got to go to Los Angeles and down at Sunset Sound, and Princess wants to record. And Prince wants us to record." Said, "Okay, well, okay, here we go." So flew there and we started on. I think we had already recorded the horn parts on Housequake, the regular parts. And he said, "Well, I want to put a trumpet solo in this one." And this is the first thing that we did. And he ran the track and he said, "I want to, put it right in here, and I'll point to you, and you start." So he pointed to me. We started. I played. I don't know, maybe it was a minute, or I don't know how long the solo, whatever it was there, and he said, "Okay, you're good. You can go home." I flew all the way across the country during during Thanksgiving, and I wanted to get some more out of that than 5 minutes, but of course we did. We recorded. I think we stayed there for another month and just recorded lots of things. We played. We might have recorded Sheila's album at that time too. But yeah, that was one of those things that Prince points the finger and say, "Okay, go." And I
Wow.
guess he liked it because I didn't do take two. That was it.
And it was just you and him in the studio alone?
I'm sure that Eric was there also because we were probably doing some more horn parts at the same time. It just got within that time period of the song. There's a trumpet solo, and he said, "Okay, go." So yeah,
Wow. That's really cool.
that was a lot of fun. That was. I wish that when that came out, Sign of the Times came out. We were doing a lot over in Europe then, and I was hoping that Housequake would come out as a single. In Pennsylvania or all over all over the country, and that it would, because I thought that that's a pretty interesting concept of Housequake. It's just not a party; it's a Housequake.
Right.
And so I was hoping that that might take over, but I don't know. Maybe it's never selected as a one to put on the radio or really market.
Well, and it's funny that it wasn't necessarily a single, but what was amazing about that song is that it got its own life. That's still like, I mean, that is a fan favorite across the board. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, and you actually play a portion of it in small club, and so it's kind of cool to kind of hear you kind of go into it. And there were some people that did actually play it. Lisa saying that Sly Jock from WAMO played it in a lot of clubs. Yeah, so I mean, obviously it's just kind of all over. Let's see if there, make sure there was no other. I was trying to see if there's any other. Oh, I do have a picture to show, which is you and Eric. And that's I mean, it's got to be great when you guys are just like vibing off of each other for sure. And it's got to be good to have a friend like that you've known for so many years. And because the story is that obviously Prince didn't write music and Eric did. And he would just kind of, when he wanted to communicate parts, he would simply just, sound them out to you. Is that essentially how Prince would communicate what parts he wanted to play?
Yeah, as we went along in the studio, he didn't write music, he didn't read music, but he would sing us the parts that he wanted to play. It was whatever, and then back tape up, and he says, "You guys ready to go?" He was the engineer with the red button. No other engineers in there, and he wanted us to have it together that quick, and you know, we got it that. Eric and I played together for so many years prior to that. We sort of knew what Prince wanted and how to interpret it, and how to put it into our own, what the trumpet part would be, how the harmonization, if there was a harmonization, what Eric would play. And so we could really put that together pretty quick. And that's what Prince liked, I think, because when he's playing his guitar, obviously it's going from his mind, his body, to his guitar, like book says. But no, his mind, his body has to go to us, what he wants us to play. So he wants that transformation as fast as right to his guitar. He wants us to be able to put our instruments as quickly as it is that fast. So you have to be pretty quick with it, otherwise he wouldn't be happy. And that's when he had the bigger horn parts in there. I think something a bigger horn section. Sometimes he didn't understand that you can't do that. You got 4 or 5 players here, and you got to have the music ahead of time, and so that you can really write things out on a score paper and hand it to everybody. Otherwise, it takes too long to harmonize things on the spot.
Man, that's incredible. It's so interesting. I'm actually just surprised that he never taught himself to actually play any instruments. I mean, horn wise, I heard. You think what?
Yeah, I think he did. I think I did hear that he tried to play sax at one time, maybe many years ago. But yeah, he never tried to play trumpet. I'm seeing in a private chat here. I guess Eric is listening. How about that?
Yeah, matter of fact, I think he's actually in the green room. If I see video, I'll bring him in, and yeah, absolutely.
that would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eric, jump in the green room and let's convo here.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to make sure that
double team Mr. Christopher here.
No, I just want to make sure that he's got video, so this is not just a white screen.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that's all good. Because I'm trying to think. There was some other questions that somebody that I had actually starred, and because we're actually going to move. Oh, Joshua asked, who wrote the horn charts on Love Sexy? Was that also Eric as well?
If it wasn't Prince coming up with some horn parts, Prince would ask Eric to write horn parts. Yes. What particular ones, particular parts? I don't know. We'd have to really think about what Prince wrote and what Eric wrote. But Eric wrote a lot of horn parts. Prince really liked Eric's writing, and he did. Eric says Prince wrote those. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, and he's actually private chatting with you, so I can't see any of his stuff. So he's just actually no, I'm sorry, I can't actually. That's the private chat over here. Yeah, so I see Eric in here. Eric, I can bring you in if you have audio. I just need to. I didn't know if you had any video to go along with it. I'll bring you in, and you guys can share some stories for sure. As long as I guess he has audio. We can actually just bring him in anyways. Eric, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. I got a few minutes here before I got to get something to eat, but just wanted to say, hey, Mattio,
Hey,
what's up?
Mr. Leeds. Yep. Thanks for joining in, man. Thanks for listening.
Well, what the hell? I got to be sure that you're not telling too many lies about me.
Yeah,
no, it's all the truth. You know that.
Well, that's even worse.
Ladies, we have Atlanta Bliss and Eric Leeds in the house for the moment. And so Eric, tell me about how you and Matt actually connected, because I know that you guys used to play in bands together, obviously preceding Prince, including including Taking Names, and also there was another one called Alki Stereopolis. Is that correct?
That was the first band that we played together. Matt and I knew each other from school because we went to school together, Duquesne University School of Music.
Oh, in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we knew each other there, and then this friend of ours, Alki, he was a singer and piano player. He had a lounge band he was putting together, and he'd basically been doing trio work for most of his, lounge gigs, hotel lounge gigs, clubs like that. But he was expanding the band to add some horns. And I think he had reached out to Matt first because it was Matt that actually called me asking about my availability to do this gig with Alki. So that was really the first gigs that outside of school that we had worked together. This was in 1975. And we were with Alki for pretty much all of 75, early 76. Alki was hooked up with a chain of hotels. I don't think it exists anymore. It was called the Hospitality Motor Inn. They had hotels they had maybe a dozen, 15 hotels, mostly in the Midwest, East, Northeast. And we would go into these hotels for they had like a lounge restaurant. The stage would usually face both the lounge and the restaurant, depending on how the place was configured. And we would play 6 nights a week, 4 or 5, sometimes 6 sets a night. And it was like, we were in the hotel in Indianapolis for like 7 weeks. Then we went to Cleveland for a month, and we went to a hotel in Lansing, Michigan for 6 weeks. So this is what we do. Playing mostly show tunes and standards, a lot of standards, contemporary shows, things like that. But this is where Matt and I really learned to play our horns and really play together.
We did get some of our jazz teeth in there too.
Oh yeah, because we were doing standards, but they were open ended, so we had room to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and we did the standards like Green Dolphin Street and Stella and those things too. But towards the end of the night, we took the liberties with the music that we were playing, and just we just had fun with it. And that was what I think we really looked forward to, was the end of the night where, like I was talking with Fritz, to be a little creative and not play the same thing all the time, and you don't know where you're going. And sometimes might not have been very pleasing to the audience, but it was pleasing to us.
Well, by then, most of the audience was going on, was gone anyway. I mean, it was a restaurant club, so it wasn't like there were a lot of people there during weeknights. It was like, it was traveling salesmen. I mean, that's basically, that's what we were playing to. So, and of course, in 1975, if you were, you were going to have to do. I mean, Alki had like a whole arrangement of stuff from like Jesus Christ Superstar, stuff like that too, that we all kind of had to suffer through. But in order to play some tunes
Park, I can still remember.
Yeah. So, but I mean, but he had some. Yeah. But I mean, he gave us the opportunity to put some nice, come up with some horn arrangements on some of the standards that we did, and that was fun. That was where we started. But after that, we were basically then doing funk and jazz gigs after that, that went through various iterations that finally ended up in our band Taking Names in 77, 78. And then Matt, of course, went after that. Matt had his band, the Parker Brothers, which was like a house band. Well, that's Matt's story. But that was, Parker Brothers is a hell of a band, that Matt had. So
yeah.
Have you ever considered doing a collaboration project with the two of you, just to kind of do another jazz type album? I know that Matt was talking about that there was a lot of recordings from the olden days, and I guess he's trying to convince you to get them released. What's the holdup?
Well, I mean, nothing. I could put stuff.
Don't put him on the spot, though. Don't put him on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, we could, I could put stuff from our band Taking Names up on YouTube, audio only, obviously. But I mean, right. Some of the original material that we did, I could do that. But, as far as officially releasing that, well, you could do that too. I mean, me and Paul Peterson have our group LP Music, but everything is like self-released, so that's basically what you do. The music business doesn't exist any longer. I mean, you know, in anything and consider what we consider to be, you know, it's a whole different thing. In fact, there's an interesting article, I haven't read it, I'm going to read it tonight in this week's New Yorker magazine, about the end of the working musician, which is, you know, the fact that what exists for the availability of bar band musicians today really doesn't exist to the, you know, to the degree that it did for Matt and I, you know, 40, 50 years ago. So, you know, everything's changed. Yeah.
Chanto wanted to know who pulled the most ladies, you or Matt?
I was married, so I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, Matt.
I've been married almost 50 years.
Yeah.
There you go. There's that answer.
You know, I got to be honest with you. When I was on the road with Prince, particularly at the end of the gig, I had one interest, and that was going back to my hotel room and reading and having something to eat. That's all I cared about. I really did. You know.
Yeah, I can't. He just had that never-ending party stamina that was just like unreal. And to do those after shows and just had to be so much. I know that we were just talking about, Matt and I were talking about Small Club, and that night you didn't go to Small Club because
one night I went on strike. Yeah.
I mean, is that something you just kind of just put your foot down and you just tell Prince, I
didn't tell Prince. I just didn't show up.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's another way to do it.
Yeah.
Do you get docked for that or anything? Is that like?
No, what he actually did is he gave everybody else in the band a bonus. It was the only time that I think he ever gave the band a bonus for an after show. And of course, since I wasn't there, I didn't get the bonus. That was the message.
Oh my God. How much was the bonus, Matt?
I remember it was $100.
Yeah.
No,
it was $100. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I got to tell you, it was the best $100 I spent on the whole tour.
You got to relax.
You should have paid me $100 to do it because I had to play all the parts.
There you go. Yeah, we got all the solos. No, what the hell? The interesting thing was I was expecting, I had basically sent a message that I wasn't feeling well. And to be absolutely honest, I wasn't.
You weren't.
No, yeah, I was angry and I wasn't feeling well. But I got to tell you, I fell asleep, I think, before the guys even left the hotel to go to the gig. So that's how much I you know, at that point. The next night, I happened to have been the first person in Prince's dressing room for the pre-gig, you know, meeting or prayer that he would always have before we go on stage. And I expected him to, like, you know, give me some shit. He didn't. He really just, he looked at me and he said, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you very much." And he said, "That's good. Glad to hear it." That's all he said.
There you go.
So, you know.
Well, yeah. There you have it. Man, it has been an honor that you dropped in, Eric. I can't.
Yeah, I'm out of here. I got to get something to eat. I just wanted to, like, you know, say hey and everything. Let Matt, you know, go. Y'all have fun.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. The one, the only, legendary Eric. Thank you, bro.
Matty, I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, man. Good. Best of luck with the book, man. It's so great. You know, he gave me a copy of the book a couple of weeks ago when he was here, and we hadn't seen each other for a while. So, you know, Matt came into town. We had like a reunion for some of the people on the Prince tours a few weeks ago. Matt came in, and we had a wonderful time, wonderful evening, and hanging out and everything. He gave me a copy of the book then. So, like, man, I'm so happy for you, and have fun. All right.
Oh, yeah, awesome. And let us know. Let us know when that Taken Names gets dropped on YouTube. We'll definitely. I know there's people that are foaming at the mouth for that. It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll get around to do some editing on some of that stuff. Put something out that we can, you know.
Beautiful.
Right.
Thank you, now, Eric.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Eric Leeds. Yeah. So, gosh, where were we? That's Eric. You can always tell, even without video, I know it's him because he always has his pen. That's what that clicking is. Yeah, he's and I love having Eric on because he's so much candor. and he's been on the show a few times, and he just tells it just like it is. It's just this he just tells it.
His historical knowledge of not just with Prince, but with James Brown, and with him and between him and Alan, uh, their musicianship is just incredible. What they know about music and what went on and how things developed is just phenomenal. And
Yeah,
it all shows up, and in Eric's not only his writing but his playing too. That the musicianship is just spectacular,
just
colorful,
unbelievable.
and comes from many years of listening and concentrating and loving music.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unreal. He's one of these guys that just has all types of dates and like you can ask him a specific date and he can tell you pretty much where he was. And there's just not a lot of people like that. There are a few hand-picked ones like him and Wally Safford and guys like that can just immediately be able to get those dates.
Yeah.
Love Sexy. I want to talk about this just for a second. Well, we didn't really talk about Black Album because we talked a little bit about Rock Hard in a Funky Place, but you also play on The Grind and Cindy C also.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, we'll go back one screen on this. Obviously Rock Hard in a Funky Place from the horn section alone is something that you recall because of its intricacies. But what were your thought processes when you found out this album was being shelved after you had just got done, doing the recording on it? Did you think anything of it, or you just like, this is just Prince being Prince again?
Yeah, we as a band, at least as far as I was concerned, never really. We would just go in. Even Eric and I would just go in and record a song here, a song there, a song there, and we never met with Prince and knew it was going together on one specific album with a theme of some. It was just a song here, a song there, a song there. Prince really went behind the scenes and he put it all together. So you really never knew when a new album was coming out because you're just recording constantly. We record, three times a week, sometimes with him for a new song. So you never knew when a new song was going to be dropped. Sometimes, with some of the times we had um, some photos were taken, and we knew that there was an album in place then, but it was never. I mean, I was never given. Maybe Eric was, but I don't even know about that. Given the privilege of listening to all of the songs and then sequencing them. What song is first, what song is second, what song is last. How does the album develop within itself? And when I got the album, it was a done deal. So yeah,
Mm.
it was a black album, but I never really saw one. As you and everyone listening here knows that there was a lot of them printed, but they're all supposedly destroyed. But some lasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got one of the original ones.
Yeah, there's still some out there, but speaking of which, is there any specific song that you remember recording and thinking, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait till that gets released," and then it never happens? Is there something specific sitting in the vault that you're like, "Oh man, I wish they would release that"?
I think the one that I was really looking forward to was Housequake. To get that one released and see what people thought of that one because I thought that really had a groove to it and
Yeah,
a theme to it.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, luckily it came out an album, and as I mentioned before, it's a fan favorite. So
Yeah,
it's
well,
absolutely.
and Beautiful Night seems to be a favorite too. But I don't think that was ever put out as a single. Or, it was just a fan favorite, right?
Yeah. I mean, just that vibe and that power for
Yeah,
sure.
just a party atmosphere. Yeah.
Love Sexy. We kind of talked about this a little bit. You actually did trumpet on I Know, and also Alphabet Street, Love Sexy, and Positivity on this one. And it also says that you were spoken voice on the party segue for I Know. do you remember what? Would you even remember, have a slightest idea what you said during the party segue of that? Because there was just so much chatter and a lot of different weird conversations going on. Do you remember anything about
Man.
what?
I don't remember what kind of chatter that would have been. I mean, there
Because
was
so much
no,
going on.
yeah.
So
If I heard it, it might make sense, but nothing in particular. I don't remember. Oh, was it? No, was that the time that Eric and I had the banner together?
probably.
Might have been. And he's talking about it's time for me. I'm going to go get a sandwich. And I said, what kind of sandwich? And he said, a sleep sandwich, me between two sheets. That's his, that's his joke. But that might have been that time. Because I know we did record that.
Yeah, I think I do remember that. I'm gonna get a sandwich. I think I do remember hearing that in the background, but it was really hard to distinguish who was what or who was say. There's some voices you can obviously tell, like Prince's voice, even when he does characters, is pretty distinguishable.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that I knew this is. You don't have anything to do with this album, but on the Times Ice Cream Castle, on what's the, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to rely on the chat room. I can't remember at the top of the. There's only 6 songs on that album too, but it's the one where the scene where Morris and the girl are having dinner, and for whatever reason, I did not know for years that voice that was doing the waiter in that scene was Prince, just because it was the one character that he did that didn't really sound like him. It was just, I don't know, because all of his characters kind of sound a little bit the same. They kind of have that Jamie Starr type of, vibe, but that chili sauce. Thank you, Lawrence. Yeah, everybody's chiming in. Shanto, Joshua, these guys are quick. Yeah. So on Love Sexy, what it says here is that this is apparently it was the lowest and weakest selling album in the United States since Controversy. And Prince was so disappointed in the less than stellar impact of the album in the US that he decided to postpone the American tour that was planned and opted to go to Europe before taking the show back to the US, hoping that the momentum and anticipation would actually build for that album. And is that kind of what you recall too? Was this tour starting in Europe? I didn't remember where it started. I knew when it hit Atlanta, but I didn't know exactly where all the shows were that had preceded that. Would you remember starting in Europe?
Yeah. We played his European audience is really big. It might be even bigger than the United States audience. And so we played a lot of clubs. We played a lot of theaters and stadiums, and then hit clubs at nighttime. And same as in Pennsylvania and as in the United States, they'd sell out in a matter of a couple of minutes. But that's why I think he loved Europe so much, and the people there, that he wanted to give them the first shot all the time. I don't know, but we did Sign of the Times too, and then came back to the States for a little bit. But I wish we could have played the States more. I would love the United States. Would like to see more of it.
It's just so different in Europe as far as their appreciation for that style of music, or just the funk leaning type of music. I've had this discussion before. It's just, even the funk bands here, they might be able to, fill like a 1,500 seat place here, but they go over into Europe and they're, doing stadiums and doing, places that are much larger, 10K plus. It's just pretty amazing, which obviously leads us to one thing that I definitely wanted to talk to you about, because a lot of people have asked me about this, is those after shows that happened during this Love Sexy tour, because you were specifically over in Europe, because you were involved in quite a bit of the iconic ones. I mean everything that happened over there, but specifically Small Club, which we talked about multiple times, that happened in The Hague in the Netherlands, and of course that we just heard from Eric, who just said I sat out that show. And then also Sendai, something goes on. This is, we're talking about Asia now, but something with Prince and Japan. I don't know what it is about this, but it's like the vibe that he plays over there. And when he's specifically in Japan, like Sendai and Nagoya and those shows, that's just a totally different, looser, more, I don't know how to explain it. The shows from Japan just sound so different. And that's even relevant for the One Night Alone tour. It's just the way he kind of opened up on some of those songs and some of the solos is just so vastly different when he's playing there. And maybe it's just overseas in general.
No, I think it has a different crowd in Japan. I remember we were doing a stadium one time, and the crowd is much more. They aren't as crazy and wild and crazy as they are in Europe. Uh, they're focusing on the music, and they're really calmed down. They want to hear what's going on. There was one time that was raining uh, in the stadium, and we were pretty much covered. So we kept on with the show. And right before the show, everyone had their umbrellas up, and they're being covered with out of the rain. But when we started playing, you know what they did? They all took their umbrellas down, every one of them, because they knew they would be in the way of the person behind them, and they wouldn't be able to see the band.
Wow.
And that's the same thing. I remember the taxis over there. The taxis all had white cloths on the car seats, because they just wanted their cars pristine. You got in one of their cars, you go anywhere in a taxi. It was like, man, this is like a limousine you're going in here. It's not like you're jumping in some cab out in New York City and the springs are coming up through the seat. It was like they're very proper, and they wore masks back then. They wore them back then. If they had a cold, they would wear one of the particle masks, so they wouldn't give their cold to someone else. And the same thing with that relation in with the music. They want to listen to it. They put their umbrella down because they don't want to, be in front of the person behind, have the umbrella in front of the person behind them they couldn't see. It's just very, very respectable, and that's the kind of. I guess he liked that difference too.
Wow.
But they did want to. They did like the party too. I mean, we played the Tokyo, the Tokyo Theater. I don't remember the name, but it was huge. There was thousands of people there, and it was a blast to play. The people were just so excited, and it was really neat.
Well, I don't know if I will get hit for this or not, because as I mentioned, we were talking about Small Club and how it was these live shows, these bootleg shows that kind of appear on YouTube and whatnot. Some of them are legendary, are just widely distributed because the sound quality of some of these shows is just fantastic. And I'm not necessarily fantastic, but very, very listenable and very, not like, something that would be like a Prince quality type of release that he would put his stamp on. Yeah. But someone had mentioned that Small Club is now on the official YouTube channel for Prince. And so that's going to be interesting. So we'll see if I have to cut this out or not. But I did take a 1:30 of Small Club of you, and you were in a zone. And I wanted to play this because, you always have this, when you play, you just kind of get in the moment. And this night it just felt like you were in the zone. So we're going to take a 1:30. We're going to listen to a solo that you did. I think this is what I'm going to play is a clip that is from, I'm trying to remember which song this is from. I think it is going from, I think I had it written out here. You were playing Down Home Blues and it was going into Kansas City. So let's take a listen to this little clip here. that was the clip. Does that bring back any memories for you?
Oh yeah, that was fun to play. Yeah, that was, well, of course it was just a blues thing, but it was great to play. It just felt good. Band was in the groove,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and I just went along with it and played on top of it. And if you listen to it, there's some things that well, Sheila knows jazz inside and out too, and you could tell that she and Fink, uh, when you play jazz, it's a, a coactive thing. You work together as a group and a mindset as a solo goes along, so they can. When I might say something in my solo, and they sort of answer it with their instrument, and then Fink answers with his instrument. It comes to become a group solo, and that's the way it was. I left the space in some things, and they filled it up, and it felt pretty consistent, felt pretty calm and bluesy the way it went along. Yeah, there's a co solo, but I had
And of,
fun with it.
and of course, when you are the only horn section, that's it. It's just you.
Yeah,
You kind of.
Eric wasn't there to take the solo, so I had to.
That's right. You got.
We lost out on one. I finally got one.
That's right. You got free reign. Jude asks, I always wanted to know if Matt or certain members of Prince's band were annoyed that they would have to learn choreography, or if it was just enjoyable and came naturally for you. Were you, I mean, did it just kind of come with the territory? Do you kind of feel, as far as the choreography for anything that you had to do, come naturally, or?
Well, I don't. I think there's two different idioms to that. The choreography is what Cat and Prince and a lot of the other guys did. Eric and I really never did choreography per se. A lot of the times, like in the Love Sexy, or some of the times, we played some of the stage show. Yes, but I'm not a dancer. I'm a player. So it
Yeah.
was, and Prince obviously knew that too. So he didn't have Eric and I join in with Miko and Levi, who were up there, incredible dancers, let alone Cat and Prince. And it was just some phenomenal front. They were the dancers. That was the choreography. I didn't do choreography. We just did a little bit of moving along.
Speaking of which, did you have any, specific memories, really kind of, rest in peace, Bonnie Boyer and Cat. I mean,
Yeah.
what are some of your fondest memories of each one of those performers? We'll start with Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie was an incredible musician, singer. Uh, there was many times when we were playing after shows that Prince would just let Bonnie go and sing, and she could sing, and it was just enjoyable to hear she's in the back. You can barely see her. She was short anyways behind the keyboards, but this time, they put the spotlight on her, and she was going for, okay, the spotlight is on. Well, I'm going to sing, and she did, and she had a great voice, and let alone that, she had a sense of humor that was incredible. She would crack the band. She would crack Prince up so many times. Um, it was telling jokes or whatever. I remember one time that she even did. I think it was during a rehearsal we were in Paisley Park, and she did an impression of Prince, and Prince was right there too, and he just howled. She did an incredible job. Everything, she walked around a little bit, and told the band do this and do that, and she just cracked everyone up. It was funny. Yeah,
Oh
she
my,
was, and she would tell a joke every once in a while, and in the middle of rehearsal, and Prince would just let her go, and he knows we're in for a treat and some entertainment.
yeah. And if that's true that they have released, even if it's not, you can find Small Club on YouTube, either the official version or that version, on YouTube, and check it out, because that song that I just pulled that excerpt from is actually from a big Bonnie Boyer song. And on that small club, apparently there was not enough room for her keyboard, so she was just kind of hanging out as a vocalist that night, according to what I had read in the notes. What about Kat? What kind of
Yeah, the relationship that Prince had with Kat was amazing. Those two would feed off each other for their choreography together. And the rehearsal room that we had glass. It was mirrored glass all around it, and so those two would spend hours after we left working on their choreography in the mirrors, and then everyone else, they do their choreo. They come in and do choreography also. Eric and I never really got into that, luckily. Um, but that's but Kat had such a big impression on Prince for the visual part and really gave him someone to play off of. So he wasn't the only one up there taking the stage all the time on the dancing. He would give it to her, obviously, for some of the time too, and then join in with her. And it was always a treat to watch them both work together. It was like Eric and I working together for so many years. It was just like those two knew each other and what they were going to do, and they read each other's mind like Eric and I did.
and did you have any type of personable relationship with either one of them? Like, get an opportunity to just kind of sit down and hang out with one-on-one with either of them, Bonnie or Kat?
To an extent, I think we all were friendly with each other. I don't know why we never went out to the bars and things together, but yeah, we certainly talked about the band and what we're doing and just general what's happening in the world and that type of stuff.
Well,
it was fun times. It was fun times. I can tell you, it was fun sometimes that Eric and I be in the studio, and then Prince said, "Let's go out to a bar," and he'd take Eric and I out to a bar with him. That was always fun, hanging out with Prince in a bar. Of course,
I bet.
security getting in there, and and sitting down, and every once in a while, we had people come up to him and talk to him, but very few times. And he just liked to go out and watch the people and see what they're grooving to, and maybe how he got some new ideas for new songs. I don't. Maybe that's where he got a lot of things.
Yeah, I want to. There's only one more thing that I want to talk to you about, and then we're going to do some quick hit questions because I know we're limited on time. So I want to make sure that I cover the one thing and that I really want to talk to you about. Obviously, is from what I read. I think I read it. I'm not sure if I read it on your site or somewhere else during an interview that we're going to talk about Miles Davis here for a second. That you are able to play all of the solos from Miles Davis's Kind of Blue. Is that true?
Well, not every note for note, but yeah, I know that album inside and out. Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah,
not just that album either. Many albums, and the same thing with Eric. We listened to those albums and got so much from them that we can sing all the parts. We can sing all the solos and play a lot of them too. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. It's just, but so you had an opportunity to meet him. I'm assuming that it was that night, the New Year's Eve night at Paisley Park. Is that the opportunity that you had to meet him, or did you meet him at another location?
No, not at all. That was I guess a couple years later. No, it was in the first time that I met him. It was in the warehouse, and Prince was actually, and I heard that Miles was coming to hang out with Prince for a little bit, and I heard he was coming that day, so I made a point to be there, and Eric was there also, and I was sitting. There's a doorway that comes in from the lounge, and I was sitting right there in the corner, and then you go right up from the stage there, and Prince was recording a drum track at the time when Miles walked in. I don't know what song, but Miles walked up to Prince, and Prince shook his hand, and Prince said, "Well, hang on a second, let me finish this drum track, and then we'll go out and we'll hang." And Miles said, "Well, okay, cool." And he walked down and he sat on the bar stool right next to me. And I thought, this is, like I said, I knew Miles' stuff inside and out, from all the
Wow.
Charlie Parker stuff to his stuff and everything. And Eric and I knew, Miles got into the rock funk gender too, and we knew all that stuff too. So we knew all the different idioms of music that he had gone through. So I'm sitting next to my mentor of all mentors, and not just mine, the whole music industry. Miles is a mentor to the music industry. So he's sitting next to me and he reaches out his hand first thing and shakes my hand. And he says, and this is my Miles Davis impression. "Yeah, my name is Miles Davis." I said, well, my name is Atlanta Bliss. I'm Prince's trumpet player. And he said, "I like what you played in that last record." Prince Miles like what I played on any record? That's the pinnacle of my career. It's done. It doesn't get any better than that. If
You got to.
Miles, he didn't like anything anybody did, but he liked what I did. And I said, well, what was it? And he said, I don't know. I can't say right now, but it was good. Okay, I'll take your word for it. So, but I should have said, and I think back on, I should have said, well, I don't know what it was, but it was probably impressed by you. It was probably something that you would have done because I've listened to you so much, and we're really getting that compliment right back. But I don't. I wish I would have. I was so stunned at it. I didn't say that.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, so that was that time, and then what we did there, that was the New Jersey, the New Year's party, and one of his people came up to me. We heard that he might play, so they came up to me with his rig. He had a wireless microphone for his trumpet too. They wanted me to try it on my trumpet to make sure it would work, so Miles could put it on his if he did walk up and play on stage with us. So that was like another thing. I'm playing Miles' shit, and actually mine was better than his because he was playing some native stuff, which is native what guitar players had. The wireless things through the guitars, and I had Sennheiser stuff, and it was really, really good stuff. And that's what I told him later, man. I told Miles later, you got to get some better stuff. So that stuff is distorting, and it's not happening. Get some good stuff. And he said, "Well, tell my manager tell my man what to do." So I did. I don't know if they ever did anything or not. Yeah, that was very cool talking with him, hanging for a bit.
And I've had very, very. I had a candid conversation with Eric. I don't. He's been on the show a few times, and I don't remember which time I had him on, and we discussed this. Two different things as far as what is recorded that we know of with Miles and Prince, which is obviously this performance on New Year's Eve and also his work on Can I Play With You, the song Can I Play With You.
Right.
And neither one, and Eric agrees, neither one was like, oh God, here's Miles playing. And then he plays and it's like, I don't understand what's happening here. Because it wasn't like it was just blurps and bleeps and it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, really, what's happening? And I think Eric had told me the story that Prince had sent Can I Play With You over to Miles's people, and then of course Miles put his track on it and then sent it back. And Prince let Eric know that they got the track back and they're about to listen to it. And so, obviously Eric came over to listen to it, and they sat and listened to the song and were just like, that's it. That's kind of what happened. Was that kind of your take too? Was this isn't like Miles level?
It wasn't. It wasn't a tutu. Miles did tutu like that. That was an incredible arrangement and everything. It was really Miles just playing on top of Prince's track, and it really didn't involve. He didn't really involve himself. I don't know if he gave it to me, if he gave me that, can I play with you? I don't know if I could have done anything with that song, frankly. I think there could have been something that was more appropriate for Miles in his genre.
Right.
That song just didn't. That wasn't a Miles song. I wish Prince would have talked to me, and I said I would have told him, hey, that's not really a trumpet player's song. It's not going to lay right, especially for Miles. I would love to be able to listen to some other stuff that Prince had and say, hey, Miles will like, and Eric obviously known that too. Miles would, he'd slide right into this. But that, can I play with you? Yeah, it didn't throw me at all.
For me, I could see Miles just killing something on like She Spoke to Me or In a Large Room with No Light, or something that's a little bit more, kind of gives them a little bit more wiggle room to kind of maybe more jazz influenced and just more space. But even the New Year's Eve show was just like, okay. Raphael asked, I don't know if you know anything about this or not, asked about that dinner at Prince's house with Miles, Sheila, and Prince's father. Were you there for that night?
Eric was there, and I think Alan were there. I was not. I was not at that dinner. No, but I heard Eric said that it was classic. In fact, Eric said that we listened. One of our favorite tracks, Eric and my favorite albums, was called Ed Carter with Prince, with Miles. You ever hear that album?
What's
Japanese Ed Carter.
Oh yeah.
There were Japanese albums, and another one called Pangea, and there were some rocking stuff, and you really had to be know what you're getting into when you listen to this stuff, because it was intense funk, and it was very incredible. And Eric and I both loved it, and we got into it. We knew we could sing the same parts with that. So I think Eric said Eric was talking to Miles, and somehow the Ed Carter came up, and maybe Eric even told you this. Miles said. Eric said, "Yeah, that was some of our favorite stuff that we loved. With Atlanta Bliss and my stuff, we loved that Ed Carter and Pantry." And I said, "You like that shit? Man, that was shit." So I don't know if he really liked that stuff or not. Eric and I loved it.
Oh my God!
He thought about it, and that was his comments on his own music.
Oh my God. All right. So let's do some of the quick hit stuff, and we'll start with Clark's statement here. Tell them about Matt Blistan Day with the plaid shirts. All right. We got to hear this.
About that, Clark.
All right. Let's hear this story. Matt Blistan.
Okay. This is back in the warehouse days. And I came up from Atlanta, and I just threw some clothes in my suitcase and came on up. And so it got to be rehearsal day and rehearsal day and rehearsal day, and you dress casual, it's no big deal. Well, one day I came in with sort of a plaid shirt on, and like an orange plaid shirt. And Prince, I think, I don't know, he didn't stop the band, but there was a break or something. He said, "Lana," he said, "where did you get that shirt?" Well, I don't know, but I think this is one that my mother gave me. He said, "Oh, good old mom." So, okay, well, and everybody got a crack, and everybody laughed about it. And so the next day, this is honest God truth. Every day, the band, the crew, everyone came in with plaid shirts and everything like that. It was Matt Blistan Day. And Prince he was the last one into rehearsal, and he walked in and just fell out. He just looked at everybody. We didn't have to say anything. He knew what it was all about. And the road crew had shirts on, and there's probably 15 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. In fact, actually, I think Sheila. No, Sheila was in that time, I think, and she didn't have one on, but whatever shirt she had on, the road crew drew stripes on it and drew X's, or X and O's type of thing, design on their plaid, like it was a plaid shirt. It was hilarious. Prince just fell out.
Oh my God. That's incredible. I wish that people would, that cell phones were around back then. Obviously, for Prince's, he was probably glad they weren't there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There would have been lots of great photos like that. That would have been fantastic. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was bad enough, I think, back then that's when the portable DAT players were coming out, and people would bring them into concerts and record the digital audio right there. And then, it would be on the streets. Because I know in London, we played it like maybe 4 nights. The second night, our first night, from what I'm told, was out on the streets, for sale. As they come into the concert, you could buy last night's concert from somebody that had a DAT recorder. And sometimes, Prince recorded everything on video too, right from the soundboard, just so he could watch the show. And at some point, maybe it was during an intermission or something, I think someone popped the video out of the video recorder and walked off with it.
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
yeah. He obviously had we had a Twitter conversation that was going on when he was with us, obviously, and I was asking him specifically about the bootlegging and whatever, and he's just like, I'm. His response was, it's not the fans sharing experiences that's the problem. It's they don't get sued. Bootleggers do. So his pushback was, I don't have a problem with people hearing it. I have a problem with people taking it because it's not theirs and then making a product and then selling it and making money off of him, off of his music and his, it's one thing to enjoy it and listen to it. It's a total different experience if you're actually making revenue off of it. That's specific for those bootlegs.
Yeah, that was really a problem when we do the after shows, because we go into a club sometimes, well, all the times, go into a club, and there'll be a mixing board there, and Cubby Colby was our sound man, and he would have to make sure that there's no patches, there's no line outs going to anywhere else that he's not seeing coming out of that mixing console, but there obviously was, because some of that stuff is directly off the board. And that's the stuff that really gets Prince upset, because Cubby mixes so perfectly. It's a recording. It's a recording when it gets off of there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Live recording. Yeah.
All right. Power Fantastic. I think everybody's obviously heard this song, but it wasn't until the Super Deluxe came out with that recording of Prince having a conversation in the studio with the band about that big intro for Power Fantastic, where everybody's just kind of tell me, literally even just thinking about that whole process, or just thinking about that part that exists now, just makes my hair stand up, because it's just to hear him talking so clearly, and just the vibe that you guys had, and the emotion that you guys had in that moment. Really kind of is shocking that didn't end up on the original release of that song. But what do you remember about the recording process that day of Power Fantastic, and just that moment?
Well, obviously, and probably most of the audience knows, that was recorded at his house, right? You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Lisa was upstairs on the grand piano. The rest of us were downstairs in the studio. In fact, I think might have been in the console and in the recording room, or in the recording room, not in the recording, well, in the where the console is, control room. And then some of the band is, 'cause it was just a small, like you go into a small studio in somebody's house. That's what this is. It wasn't a big studio at all, was where we recorded. And so everyone was spaced out. And Prince says, you can hear the beginning. He says, we're going to start out slow, and we're going to develop this thing till it gets loud, and then we're going to bring it way down and proceed with the song. And he's, I'm sure other he says, this is the first take, and we might have more takes after this, and there are no mistakes. And so I said, okay, let's go with it. So Lisa started out, and then I think, I don't know if I was the first one that joined in. I had my harmonium in, and then Eric came in with his flute, and the drums came in, and the guitar came in, and I think Bobby was playing some tom toms with some mallets, and it just was so colorful. A song after that, it was just, and we didn't, we knew we were in the moment, but listening to it after that, after Prince put it all together, that I think it was one of the most colorful songs I've ever heard, and certainly ever felt. That's one of those songs I tell everybody, You just go into your room at nighttime, turn out the lights and light a candle and put the music on and put your feet up and put the headphones on. And it'll take you anywhere you want to go.
It is probably construction wise, probably one, and even the chord progressions in that song as you guys are playing it, is just so beautiful, and it's very emotive.
Mhm.
And I can only imagine, was that a one take scenario? I think so.
Yeah. Well, we
What-
did some overdubs after that, but it was one all the way through. Yes, we didn't do
Wow.
it a number of times. No.
Yeah, and I can already, when I'm replaying it in my head right now without hearing the audio, I can already hear your trumpet fading out towards the end of it, and it's just, I mean, it's just got to be,
Yeah.
it's just one of those moments that's just like a magical song.
Yeah. And you really didn't know that at the time, but you take it home and listen to it and say, hey, that fell in the slot.
Man, unbelievable. All right. What, there's so many more things obviously that I could talk to you about, because you have played with Patti LaBelle, Kid Creole, The Sex of It, which is obviously a Prince song. A lot of people don't know that was Prince's song. But you actually played on that track on Kid Creole's song. Did he actually, I was going to just bypass this, but it's a quick question. Did he put you up to playing on that, or was that requested by the band? Say, hey, do you have a trumpet player to play this particular part of The Sex of
No,
It?
no. I mean, Prince brought that to us and said, okay, let's put some horn parts on it.
Yeah, there you go. Carmen Electra, Mavis Staples, Aretha Franklin, James Brown. What's it like working with James? What happened there?
That was he wasn't. I hadn't really wasn't in the studio with him at the time. That just turned out to be that was the "Give Me Love"
Oh, with
uh,
Aretha Franklin and James
with
together.
Aretha. So
Yeah, yeah.
that track was already done. So we weren't in the studio with them per se. And that was another track that Prince had. That Prince said, "Okay, let's put some horn parts on this."
Wow.
That's what he was saying after Love Sexy broke up. That we're going to stay. He's going to play with some other artists, and that's what some of the things that and George Clinton playing with George was a blast too.
Yeah, I bet there's got to be stories, because you were on the Cinderella Theory and also the Hey Man, Smell My Finger. So you were actually,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
I
That
mean,
was something that Eric and I. That was like another pinnacle of our career. To record with George, and we went in the studio. I don't remember whether I'm sure Eric remembers where we were, where the studio was, but we went in there, and George. There was all kinds of folks in there and just having a good time and recording and coming out with some great music and say, okay, let's get the horns in there now. And George said, well, and we were used to Prince saying, okay, here's some horn parts here. It might have been, we were sort of expecting maybe there's some keyboard parts here that are going to be horn parts or whatever. And George said, go for it. So Eric and I, that's what we did. We came up with the horn parts and on our own, and I think that's what George is best for. Same thing like Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington knew his band, and he knew what to give them, what to give certain certain players, a certain solo or a certain section play at a time. He knew them. He knew how to direct them, not what to play, but when to play. And that's what George does. He directs people with his keyboard player and everyone not exactly what to play because he's not a player per se, but he is a musician, incredible musician, and he knows what to play and how to interpret what to play at what time. What to
yeah.
play at what time, I suppose, is more an answer.
So did he
And
ever? Did George ever like do horn parts for you like Prince did? I mean, did he have any kind of input, like, or he just said just go?
yeah, I don't maybe I can remember. I don't remember him ever saying play this." No, he never did. I think we worked with a keyboard player a little bit, so we knew what was coming up, and so we could work on some parts. It was nothing. Certainly wasn't anything written down saying, "Here, play this." No, nothing like that.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. All right, last question. There's two more questions because there's one that's floating that our good friend Ann has asked, and this is actually something I was going to ask as well. But first, I want to ask about Sting. I know you had opportunity to work with Wynton Marsalis or meeting Wynton Marsalis and also Sting. I'm trying to find out the validity of the Sting story where Sting was asked to sit in with the band and Prince intentionally kept changing the parts so that Sting couldn't catch up or Sting couldn't keep up or kind of fall into a groove. Like Prince was messing with Sting. Do you know anything about that story?
I certainly remember Sting playing with us, but it might have seemed that as to the audience that he was messing with them. But if you listen to when Miles played with us during the New Year's Eve gig, he had all his hand signals and things behind Miles, that we were playing. So we would play bop, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, and ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And if I was a soloist that didn't know from that, I would think they're messing with you, but they're really not. And Prince was like, that's how he's thinking of backing up Miles playing. Well, from what I gather, that's what same thing with Sting. It sounded like we would have the hand singer back up, and it would sound like we're trying to interrupt Sting, but we're really trying to back him up.
Wow.
I'd have to hear it specifically, but that would be my interpretation right now. That was a lot of years ago.
Yeah, that would be pretty amazing.
I
So
would think, I never thought that Prince intentionally would mess with anybody. It never, because Sting is a favorite of mine. And if I would think that, hey, Prince is really messing with them, how jive is that? And the hair on the back of my neck would be standing up, and it didn't. It never got to that point. So I can't think that Prince did that.
wow. So how did this question actually came from Anning and Cheska. How did your time with Prince come to an end? Did the calls just stop coming, or did he have a conversation with you and just say, I'm revolutionizing you?
No. Well, that's a good term there. You could use that quite often, couldn't you? No, there never really was a parting of the ways. It just I moved to Atlanta because I hadn't heard from him in a long time. I said, "Well, okay, that's the end of that." And um, not that there's anything wrong with Minneapolis, but it gets cold up there,
Yeah, it does.
and uh, and uh, and I wanted to move back to Atlanta. I'm Atlanta Bliss. I loved Atlanta.
Mm.
Even before Prince gave me that name, I loved Atlanta. I still do. Incredible. I love Atlanta. So I moved back there, and like I said, I flew up and uh, we did the second movie and some other tracks, and um, but and then it just started fading after that. And Eric, I think, did some things after that and went out and maybe did some European things with them. But no, I never got another call. Maybe he thought I left Minneapolis, so I wasn't I wasn't interested. So that's it for Bliss.
So when was the last time you played with him?
Played with him.
Mm-hmm.
Probably during the movie. Yeah,
Which
that was
one?
in Georgia.
Graffiti Bridge or Under the Cherry?
Yeah. Graffiti Bridge. Well, Eric and I played in the movie. We played in the band for Graffiti Bridge.
Right.
And I think it was some back shots or something. There wasn't anything big.
And when was the last time you saw him? Around the same time frame?
No. During the musicology tour, he came to Pittsburgh, and he was at the Civic Arena, which is no longer. But I wanted to see him, and I wanted to see the band because I knew a lot of the band. And so I went that day. I knew there'd be a sound check, so I went earlier, and I didn't know how I was going to get in, but I did have, my road pass, uh, my backstage passes for a number of tours that I did and things. So I looked pretty legitimate that I was with Prince. I had on my Prince backstage passes on, band passes. So I managed to get in.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So from there, they were doing a sound check. Prince wasn't there yet. The band was there, and so I walked up, and they were all getting warmed up with the band to for a sound check before Prince got there, and said hey to Candy and some of the other guys too, and they all said, "Oh my, Atlanta Bliss is here," and they all came over. We talked for a while, and it was really really a fun time talking with saying, well, we're playing your music now that you played all those years. And I said, well, I'm sure you're doing a great job, and I'm looking forward to hearing you guys play. And then Prince came up. He actually came out in a golf cart and came all the way up because it was pretty far from where it was. Uh, and he recognized me there, and he said, "Hey, hang around here for a minute, and after sound check, we'll hang for a minute, and we'll we'll talk." And so they did sound check, and after that, we did go back and we hung around for a while, and that's when he, speaking of all the shows that we played, the after shows that we played, and all the bootlegging going on, he had some comments about that he wasn't very happy about all the bootlegging that was happening back then, because it was very strong. And we had a nice conversation, and that was probably the last time that I had seen him. My I called my wife up and I said, "Hey, come down. I got tickets for the Prince show," and we were actually live about 50 miles away from Pittsburgh. And she said, "I have to work, so I can't." My daughter really wanted to come down. She was just, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 years old, and she was really into the Prince thing. She said, "I want to come backstage. It's always been a dream of mine to be backstage and see Prince." And so, actually, the next day, my son came that night. Then my I told my daughter, "Well, they're in Cleveland. I'll get us backstage." So we went backstage that time to meet Prince. That for that show. Unfortunately, I think it was Guitar Player Magazine or something had a big interview with him. So I never got to talk to him during that show. But we met his. I don't know if it was the girlfriend or wife at the time, and I got a chance to go all the way up to the top of the theater and listen to the sound of a Prince show, and I was pretty amazed. Because you're on that stage and your monitors. Eric and I had our own mix. Back
Yeah.
then, we didn't have in-ears. We just had giant monitors pointing at us,
Yeah.
and we would have our own mix. We'd have Prince in our mix, and of course our horns in there so we could hear what we're playing, and some keyboards. And so we never really got the Prince experience. But I did go up there and I said, "Yeah, this is cool." And we heard the sound and the lights, and it was rock and
Wow.
roll, baby.
Yeah, he really pays attention a lot to what it sounds like, no matter where you are. We talked a little bit about this in the beginning. I think before we even started the pre-show about that final concert in Atlanta, where I was all the way in the back of the balcony for his final concert, and that the sound even back there was immaculate. I mean, he paid attention to what happens to that sound in every corner of venues when he plays. It's just.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Well, Cubby, our sound man, was just an incredible musician, let alone sound engineer.
Man.
That's why I stayed with him so many years.
So you got well, before I talk about this book and we close this out, I did happen to see that you've got a couple of random tracks on your site here for Rainforest and Space and Time. What are these tracks that are available on your site at atlantabliss.com?
Well, Space and Time is actually a tune that I wrote. Well, it's back in the '70s. It's sort of it's in 5/4/6/4. It's an 11/4 time, and not that I intended to do that, but just the groove worked out like that. And it's sort of a progressive jazz thing, and Erica's playing sax on it, and then I play a solo. And if you listen I'll challenge your listeners out there if they do this, if they get it. Listen, Eric's playing. We have two keyboard players. One is playing the chords, and Eric is playing Fender Rhodes piano, and I think he's got a wah-wah on it too. And him and I, during my solo, have an incredible conversation. And this is the last time we ever played that song. The band was breaking up after that. I think it was like the 29th of December or something. And we just went for it and just had a blast because that's what you do in jazz. You know, you talk musically with your instrument to each other, and sometimes it gets a little crazy, which it did during this. So it's a lot of fun. Listen to the keyboard player and I played electric trumpet back then. I played a wah wah and a biphase and all sorts of other gear on my trumpet. And so what you're hearing at the beginning of the song is my trumpet. You might not think it is, but yeah, it's me.
Wow.
Yeah, Rainforest. I wrote with a friend of mine. His name is Albert Burrows. He had a studio in Atlanta, Georgia, and he had the basic tracks from this. Albert turned out after that. In fact, I'm hooked up with him a couple, maybe 3 or 4 months ago now. He's the sound engineer with Morris Day, and I saw them in Pittsburgh and hooked up with Albert after all these years. Well, he had the track, excuse me, and didn't have anything on top of it. You know, there wasn't any melody, there wasn't any distinctive sound to it or anything. And I listened to it and I said, let me tell you, I took it home for one night and I came back in the studio and I said, okay, I'm ready. Let's record it. Well, he was the sound engineer. It was his studio too. So we did it, and it's a different type of song. You know, if you've heard of Tom Brown is a great trumpet player too,
Mhm.
more contemporary trumpet player. Um, you know, you might with Donald Byrd, he has some sort of contemporary things out there, and this is sort of that way. Um, it's not hard jazz, it's not soft jazz, but it's different. It's a nice tune. It has some nice. There's one part where I have I think about 3 or 4 trumpets in it, overdubs on it, and it's real colorful, like you are, you know, in the rainforest, so to speak.
Wow, that is really, really awesome. And then, of
Really
course,
emotional, you know, that type of thing, I guess.
the piece de resistance is this brand new book right here, Mind, Body, Trumpet. Tell me a little bit about this book, which I'm going to make sure that I put up this scroller down here to get a copy of the brand new book, Mind, Body, Trumpet, at atlantabliss.com. Tell me about what led you to, because if you look at the book, it's actually part talking about a lot of specific things that you can do to actually practice trumpet without even holding a trumpet, but then also there is a good portion of it that talks about your history and whatnot. What led you to put this book together?
Well, the book started was written actually about 16 years ago, and I really wanted to put it out to help other trumpet players um, with some things that I had learned in playing trumpet that I had never even thought about until I played with Prince and had found the necessary need to do it. And so, like I said, I wrote it 16 years ago. I retired from my day gig, and I said, "Okay, I got time to listen to this now." And I pulled it out, and I looked to look at it, and I pulled it out, and I couldn't change a word in there. I'm gonna have to rewrite this whole thing. I pulled it out and said, "No, this is really what I wanted to say. It's really what I wanted to pass on to other trumpet players to help them uh, play trumpet." So actually, a lady that I was working with, Jennifer Stockdale, she helped me put it together, and we decided that I had been interviewed by a friend of mine, Reverend Fred Shakeen. Fred is an Orthodox priest, and he knows Prince stuff inside and out. And he interviewed me one time and did a great interview. And since then has been to my house, and we talked, and our friends And I said, it would be interesting to add Fred's interview interspersed in between the book and have a few Prince pictures in there, and I have pictures of on the corner and taking names and with Alki Seriopoulos' band, and and because he talks about went back way back into how I grew up and my career, so I sort of felt it would give a little color to the book, not just be a trumpet book. It might uh, helps maybe some of the trumpet players know that, hey, I was just a local musician, and it did happen, and it can happen to you. And if you do some of these things, I think it can help out. So what the book is does, and yes, it is how to practice trumpet without your trumpet. And so it's a lot of uh, some isometric exercises for your embouchure and your facial muscles, your fingers, breathing techniques, um, and reading techniques. And what I say in the beginning of the book and forward, actually, that you can read online on the website, I put the whole forward of what the book is about on it. And when I went to school in Duquesne, you sit in a practice room that's 5 foot by 8 foot with a piano in there, and you sit in there all day and play your instrument, and you learn your scales, and you read new music, uh, and your ears come out. You come out, then your ears are still ringing because the trumpet is not a quiet instrument, especially when you're playing the higher register. So what this book does, it lets trumpet players learn their scales, how to breathe and everything, and in the university library rather than in a practice room playing your scales, play your scales, play your scales, play your scales. Play your scales is mind and your body put together. You don't need the trumpet. After you get the mind and body together, you put the trumpet on there, and okay, it's going to come like in no time. And you're not wearing out your embouchure, you're not beating up your chops, as it said with trumpet players. And same thing with the fingering. You practice fingering with both hands, not with one hand. This is your trumpet playing hand. You do both because you're putting more of your mind into it. So the whole book is sort of geared towards that you can practice trumpet without your trumpet. And it's not a big book. It just has some concepts in there. One is how to warm up playing trumpet. You don't have to take half an hour to warm up. You don't have to get to the gig half an hour to warm up. You can warm up in your car with these facial isometrics. And one of the big things that I learned with Prince is we would have production rehearsals for like a big tour, and they would be 14 hours. It'd be a 14-hour day, and playing for 14 hours, not constantly, but being there for 14 hours, playing most of the time, a lot of the time, this turns into all muscle, and so does this. Right around when you put the mouthpiece, and this cannot turn into muscle. When that turns into muscle, you start missing notes because it's not vibrating right. Um, and so that's why you can strengthen these muscles up, but these have to be relaxed. So that's what some of the isometric exercises that I have strengthen this up, but they leave this alone. So you don't have to practice your trumpet and beat this up. You can let it relax and just grow on your muscles. It's like being a long distance runner that you don't start out running 10 miles the first day. You start out running 1 mile or a quarter mile, and you work your way up. Well, same thing with growing your muscles and getting them warmed up and growing them. That's what the isometrics do, and that's what the book is about. And I hope to have, I don't expect to make a lot of money with it, but I would like a lot of trumpet players to try it, and it works.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, my daughter's boyfriend is a trumpet player, and I'm going to let him borrow this book and take a look, because I was like, immediately think of the trumpet players that and maybe got Christmas coming up, somebody that plays a trumpet. This would be a really, really great great gift idea. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? It was Dizzy Gillespie's birthday, and I happened to watch a video of him, and I don't know that I've ever really paid attention to how massive his cheeks were. I mean, it's just amazing to me how I've seen some trumpet players that kind of keep it, really kind of keep their cheeks in and can push a lot of sound out without having all the extra. But then Dizzy, his cheeks come out like insane. It's like 4 inches on each side away from his face. And it's like, you could with the amount of air that you have in your face. I would ask anybody, if you've never paid attention to Dizzy Gillespie's cheeks when he's playing, like literally you could probably hold a note for an hour with this.
Oh, the air he has in his mouth.
Oh my gosh, unreal.
Yeah, that's really, there's not a lot of players like that. I don't know if there was something in his jaws that made it stand out like that, but really, this is muscle. You want this in here because it's supporting all down here. When you go out, you blow this out. I think you can blow your muscles out like that. It doesn't make sense, but of course, Dizzy is Dizzy.
That's right. And Charlie Parker too. Joshua was talking about Charlie Parker. Yeah, it's just some of these trumpet players are just amazing. Man, it has been an absolute honor. Thank you so much for being generous with your time and sharing so much of your stories. I know we had a lot of questions that people wanted to ask. And again, brand new book just came out. Mind, Body Trumpet. Yeah, last week. AtlantaBliss.com is where you can go and you can pick up a copy of this book. And it is absolutely fantastic. And I am looking forward to giving it a read, even though I'm not a trumpet player. But I still want to
be autographed too. So if you want an autograph, I could do autographs. No problem.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Matt, and much success on the album. And please let me know when you're in Atlanta again, so we can go grab dinner or something, because I'd love to be able to hang out with you and share some more stories for sure.
Well, I not only thank you for your time here today, but I thank you for your musicianship and the way you're keeping things going too, with the idiom of Prince and the Funkatopia, with everything. It's just keep it going.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for the one and only Atlanta Bliss. Thank you so much, sir. And if you missed any of these interviews, any of this interview, please just tune in tomorrow. It will be on Spotify. It will be on iHeartRadio. It will be on Apple Music, Odyssey, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. It will be on there tomorrow. So if you missed anything, don't worry. Just tune in tomorrow. Or as soon as this is over, you can head right to facebook.com/Funkatopia or youtube.com/Funkatopia and watch a replay of the live show. Matt, thank you so much again. Have a good night.
You're the baddest. Keep it going, man.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Atlanta Bliss. Man, what a great show tonight. Man, it's been amazing. And let me just say, glad you guys tuned in. I don't know if there is a big interview that I'm trying to work out the details on right now. There's a big interview that I'm trying to work on right now. So please stay tuned, because it could possibly happen next week. It might be the week after. But if you guys thought the Jesse Johnson interview was one of the bigger interviews, there's already a line of communication, a direct one-on-one line of communication that is occurring right now. So we could have a really big show next week. I will let you know as soon as I know. I will put it out there, but it's going to be fantastic. But for now, we have the amazing stories from the one and only Atlanta Bliss here tonight. And again, make sure you head to atlantabliss.com and pick up his brand new book, Mind, Body Trumpet. And again, it's a great gift idea if you know somebody who does play trumpet. These are really good executables within that. And of course, you can head to atlantabliss.com and also check out those couple of tracks that he has on his website and read a little bit more and watch some videos and whatnot, and listen to the box sets and check out the Utrecht shows. Because, and again, if youtube.com/Prince actually has the small club show, legitimately has a small club show out there as a official release, that's news to me. That's really Yeah, no, it's not Carmen. A lot of people were asking if it's Carmen. No, it's not Carmen. You'll be fine. Let's just say you probably saw them on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony that happened. And no, it's not Questlove. But just stay tuned. We'll probably have a really, really great show. Again, head to atlantabliss.com, pick up those MP3s, pick up the book. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys had a fantastic time. If you missed any of the show, again, just head to Spotify or iHeartRadio tomorrow, and I'll get that uploaded for you so you can check that out. Or, of course, just go to YouTube or Facebook, the Funkatopia channels, and rewatch. Hope you guys had a fantastic time. We will see you next week. Maybe. We'll kind of play it by ear. Hope you guys had a fun time. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Funkatopia Live. I'm your host, Mr. Christopher. We'll see you soon.